Hey guys, welcome to NRL Fantasy Buy Hold Sell Round 19. I'm joined here with Ryan.
Hey guys, welcome back.
There's not too much to talk about this week. I feel our plans have been shanghaied by Team List Tuesday.
Shanghai, yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Um, yeah, obviously last week 7-2-2, so a few. Obviously, I imagine a lot of people playing with probably like 11 or 12 players, and a few guys going low as well. But pretty average week. Obviously, I know you got a bit below that. I was a bit above it, as we'll go through later on. But probably pretty average week all around, right?
Yeah, I think me and a couple others couldn't actually field a full side this week. Um,
Mm.
so I think that's why the score's a bit low. But this time round, we're going to kick off with some buy hold sells first, and then we'll go into our teams after. And we're going to start off with Tino, who I don't know necessarily in most circumstances I'd be putting him as a buy this week, but I actually need a mid, and I think there might be a couple people in similar positions. I've gone ahead and sold Adam Fanua Blake last week again. Obviously, I have a good trend of doing stupid trades too early, so I need a mid, and of the available mids, Tino is one of the keepers that I think both of us are looking to get into our sides.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like you, I need him in this week. I'm not going to bother playing with 12. That just seems like a waste.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
so either Tino or let's go talk about Isaiah Yo. Obviously,
Yeah. Um, but yeah, the break even on 72 for Tino, ideally we probably wait 1 week before we pick him up because I don't think coming off Origin he'll probably be playing high minutes. Um, what is it? You can see round 13 here he had where was it?
71.
He did have 71 minutes, which is actually surprising.
Uh,
Oh wait, no.
I mean, he
14 would be the week anyway, sorry. 14 would be the week, right? The week after Origin.
no 13 with a week.
Okay, I'm not tripping. Um, yeah, but I don't know. I think generally hmm, there's cash to
I
lose.
mean, he's starting at least. So, uh, and the game is it's the last game on Sunday, so it's definitely one where you can kind of just wait and see, and obviously see what happens with Isaiah Yo as well, and then probably make up your mind a bit later on.
Yeah,
But
yeah. He's pretty low owned as well, so I think that'll change soon. Um, I had Connor Watson, but let's talk about Yo. I think Yo was up the back here somewhere on one of these.
oh,
Here he is.
yeah, I mean, it's weird that they wouldn't even name him to begin with. So I don't know what that kind of indicates. But like he's only played like 2 games in the last like month, pretty much, right? So
Yeah,
it kind of surprises me that they're going to rest him when they're playing in Sydney and he's playing in Sydney on the Sunday. So obviously, I think if he's on the bench, you can't. No, it's not worth bringing in. But if he does get moved to lock late, obviously, I assume he'll probably only play 60, 70 minutes. I probably still would buy that over Tino just because like he still scores pretty well when he plays a few less minutes, and obviously he's a season-long keeper that I want to bring in at some point, and break even is low enough to kind of justify it this week.
yeah, yeah. I think the Panthers like playing mind games with their team lists as well. They like changing
Yeah,
things around. They like
that's a good point.
over underreporting on injuries and stuff. So definitely something to keep an eye on because I agree he's a bigger buy this week over Tino if he does start. Um, and also very low owned at the moment, which these numbers I give it like a week or two, and I think top 100 he'll be over 50% probably.
Hmm.
And then there was a guy in next who I think you're a bit less keen on, but I was considering. We've seen some other content creators also sort of pitching in for him, and that's Connor Watson, who previously we owned, or at least I think I owned him earlier in the year at hooker position.
No, but yeah, we both start with him. Yeah.
We both did, yeah. Um, Yeah, I think one of the main things is not sure on minutes coming off Origin. Also, the Roosters have a lot of hooker coverage, Loelu, Zach Docker Clay. But I think as a season keeper for a hooker position alongside Aaron Clark, I think he's one of the top guys, especially at this price and especially with this break even. Um, but I think it's one of those things where if you bring in Connor Watson, maybe then you can't bring in someone like Tino or Latrell down the line.
Yeah.
So that's the big point for me that I'm not too sure on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, like, on the one hand, it'd be nice to have some sort of hooker coverage, especially in my team now. They've pretty much lost Jaden Brayley, so he's tempting. But I think it was with his average though, like he has that 90-point game in game two with two tries, and so and then kind of went back to a bit more of a typical sort of hooker scores, and so I just don't know if there actually is that consistency there, and I think the actual hooker role that most teams now just it's not great for fantasy. They have games every now and then where they run for like a lot. Most of the time though, they are just getting the ball, I mean, half passing it off, making like 40 tackles, missing a few, and then not doing a whole lot else. And
Yeah,
so the good thing about him now is I think like round 11 or 13, whatever it was, like Sato like came on and then he moved to lock late in the game. So if he does that, plays 80 and with a little bit of a lock in there, I think it's obviously great value. But how sure are you that he's going to do that every single game and not play, these 66-minute games or these low minute games and, just kind of drop that average a little bit. So I don't mind it, but I don't think there's as much value there as some other people sort of saying in a sense.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess he's more volatile, but also aside from value, I think a lot of teams, including you and me, we already have a couple backup hookers. I got Talon De Silva, Loelu, Aaron Clark. I still have Jaden Brayley. I feel like a lot of people, sorry, Blake Brayley. You have Jaden Brayley. I feel like a lot of people have maybe Damien Cook, maybe Reed Marnie. Some people might
Yeah.
be trying to get, Harry Grant in or yeah. So I don't know. I think th we probably already have enough hookers to be honest, but I think you'd be buying him for that mid position anyway. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm leaning
Yeah.
towards no rather than yes, but definitely an option.
Yeah, and Talon Silva, I think I mean, I assume he has gone to the Eels knowing that he's going to get some sort of decent minutes, right? I can't imagine there not being that sort of discussion in the contract. So yeah, obviously it's his first game. I'm not too concerned. I think, I know I know obviously you look at his average coming off the bench, it's not great. Even playing like decent minutes, it's not fantastic. But I think like you just buy him now. We'll see, I'm not playing him this week. Don't have to. And you hope that he moves into the starting spot over the next few weeks and can be somewhat of a decent backup or decent ended bench guy going forward.
Yeah, and he didn't get the position because Hands got it over him, correct?
Lussick,
Was it Lussick?
yeah.
Right, I'm tripping balls. I swear I saw Hands. Um, yeah, Lussick hasn't been playing as many minutes this year as last year.
Hmm,
Um, but like I imagine, at least I hope, because I've already jumped in and bought him. I'm hoping he gets at least 40 minutes. Maybe even he plays out of hooker position as well. But at the end of the
yeah.
day, he's a cash down anyway. Um, but
I mean, yeah, he's definitely better than Lussick and probably better than. Oh, actually, I didn't mind Riley Smith playing, so I think he should get more than 30 minutes a game, but it's just hard when he's starting on the bench as hooker. I don't know.
yeah, I think the better cash down option this week, which is someone you're looking at, is Fletcher Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of risk, and I, I do already have three Knights players, so one of them will have to go by the time I get to their buy in around 22. So he scored 29 last week and just pure base stats. And I just feel like, to get a fullback as a complete cash out, pretty much locked in for the rest of the year, especially with the Knights not being that great. They don't want to rush back a Fletcher Sharp. So I just think it's very low risk. I mean, you did bring up pre-recording about bringing someone in who doesn't play, so obviously to use it as a loop, which probably is smart. But I kind of like guys who just at least have a potential of scoring all right,
Yeah.
and then depending on the week, you can do some loops, on who plays first, whatever. Maybe he scores a 45, and you loop him in, and you got a good score out of your, some cheapies. So, what do you think though?
Yeah, I think earlier in the season it'd be a no-brainer, but I think you're hitting that later in the season now. I almost wonder if you need to start considering if you'd prefer that infinite loop over someone who plays. Like at the end of the day, if I
Yeah,
bring in Fletcher Hunt, I probably don't take his score. I maybe take his score maybe once on a rare occasion. I almost feel like I'd get more value out of a cash out in someone who doesn't play at all and I can just use permanently in that spot to loop in, maybe get an extra couple points here and there. But I think
Hmm.
it comes down to people's teams and how many cheapy cash outs they have already. Definitely a lot of big players we're going to be wanting to move into. So there's going to be a lot of, I guess, cash out targets. And you do want to have some of your cash outs as potential point scorers in case you do need to play them.
Yeah, like it's probably more important if they are like for me, like Talon Silver ideally long term ends up being the backup in that rare occasion that Clark gets injured. So hopefully, but hopefully he starts playing bigger minutes and scores well. Fullback wise, I'm going to have like next week I'm going to have Teddy, Drinkwater, Campbell, Latrell, Turbo. So not as much need to actually play him. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And then onto Cleary, just chuck him in. Most people already own him. Actually, 36% owned is lower than I thought it'd be. He's not set to play this week. Like we said with Yo, he could change, but I think like Payne Haas, he's one of those people you just need to get in your side. Payne Haas, I think there are more concerns with back injuries, which is less of an issue for Cleary. But yeah, I definitely need to get this guy back as soon as I can.
Yeah, obviously no brainer if he does play, but I guess if he doesn't, you can kind of figure things out for next week.
And then the last man on the list who I have here as a holds, I was considering selling him recently, but I think his price is just at such a low point now that I don't think it's going to get any lower. I think he probably has a lot of value to gain. Sort of the narrative going around is that he's been taking reduced minutes because of the workload as of late, possibly also the finger injury. So I'm planning on holding Tarpany. I think he's still a hold for the near future, but could be someone we could pivot on to help us reach some of those targets later. Do you agree with that or?
Yeah, yeah. For the most part, I think like I'm planning to sell Ruben Garrett this week. I feel like it's kind of in a similar spot where they're probably a little bit underpriced, but at the same time, though, do you want to bring someone in now? You can kind of just trust a lot more for they run home. So that's sort of the question you'd ask yourself. And he's not like a. I feel like in the mid spot, you kind of want either these obviously high PPM locks or props who do play big minutes every single week.
Yeah.
And obviously, more recently, he hasn't really been that. And so that's just kind of the risk you run, right? Like if he plays over 50 minutes, you're sweet. But if not, then he's a 1.1 PPM guy, so he still scores pretty well. But would you rather have Yo and Tino if he's fully fit? Obviously, you already have May and Ha, so I don't know. It's a bit of a tough one.
Yeah. I think he'll be a good bench player for me. I think that's my plan moving forward, that he'll pick up points on the bench. But yeah. Yeah, he's someone you could sell, but I'm leaning towards hold.
Yeah, I guess same thing. Both Fogarty. I know he's not on your list there, but Fogarty's very similar. I think. I know people are looking at selling him. I actually was kind of tempted. Like I think it was like on like 20 points going into like halftime on the weekend, but ended up on 65. They've got a great run home, and so I think he's a pretty easy guy to just
Yeah.
keep in your bench, um, and just yeah, he's going to score you 50 a week. That's more than good enough. He's priced at 50 as well, so I
Yeah,
think it's
well
pretty solid.
look at these kick meters coming back and obviously he's got goal scoring. So his base is really strong, I think. And
Yeah,
for his price, like
yeah,
he's still good in my opinion.
yeah. Just saw a few people mentioning about selling him, but I just think it's just you just hold for now.
Yeah,
There's probably much bigger concerns in your side than Jamal Fogarty.
I agree.
So onto our team wraps. Obviously, me first. So got no trades last week in the end. Even though Fiketti probably would have been decent bringing, but oh well. Got to save the trade, and obviously I'm sitting in a spot now where I've got a good amount of trades to use. I got the 782, which is obviously pretty good, especially considering I've got IOLU score, which obviously wasn't ideal in the end, and Preston as well. So we're pretty happy with that. A lot of good contribution from my backs mainly.
Yeah,
So yeah, was
78
obviously very happy with
from
that.
Waka Tunawase.
Yeah,
Easy.
yeah, obviously proven. Hopefully he can keep outscoring Herbie's average. That'd be more than ideal. But he's back on the wing this week. So it's a concern, I think, for his scoring. But anyway, um, yeah, so a lot of faces here. Um, yeah, it probably isn't like the best week to trade in a sense, but I obviously do have the trades to use. And well, first and foremost, obviously, Couchman will be going to a mid, that's for certain. And then all the other trades are obviously more so for bring up cash for next 2 weeks. And so, it's kind of one of those things where opportunity costs, do you jump on a Fletcher Hunt now? Things break even is quite low. And so if you wait a week, he could have a good score. And then all of a sudden he's on like not no longer like the best cash out. Taylor Silver's, I think, is less for a risk in that sense. But do you bring these guys in now that you kind of can trust the decent cash outs and then bank the cash and plan ahead? Or do you wait a week and kind of hope that something else like pops up? So
Yeah.
that's the only concern
Well, I guess
that I got.
you got to consider next week if you want to be bringing in like four big guns, you're gonna need a lot of spare trades, a lot of spare cash.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess it's like, yeah. If no one else pops up, then you'll be screwed. This actually isn't my team for next week. I actually haven't got around to moving players around. But obviously, Aaron Clark will be in, Kiraz will be in, Lucas will be in, KVP and Brayley and Katoa. That's quite incredible. Anyway, I've got a full 13 with one mid. And I can loop and halves, loop and wing fullback. So got a pretty good team. Obviously, apart from I will be starting Jaden Brayley at hooker. So that's fun. But see how that goes.
He could still go well. Um,
Yeah.
all right, let's get into mine. I did. Oh, not the best trades, I guess. Just you, along with my normal strategy. AFB would have been nice to have this week, but that's okay. We move on. Preston let me down a little bit. But he is a long full season keeper. I'm not going to sell him, um, unless he gets injured. Fingers crossed he doesn't. Um, and then my plans for this week is one of these guys on the left for one of these guys on the right. I still have Kitione, which I guess is unusual, but he actually has been scoring well lately. Garrick has as well, and I think that I was looking at his stats. The last 3 games, he's had 5 tries. He's been playing very well on the wing, where I'm happy he's back because I think he belongs there. But he's been doing very well with Turbo, and I'm scared that I'm going to let him go and he's going to keep getting those tries. So it's tough, but I guess he's got the bye this week. I need to fill a position, so it makes sense. So my early strategy at the moment will be Garrick to Tino. Um, Traditionally, it doesn't make sense trading Garrick and trading in Tino, but you got to do what you got to do. Um, and yeah, that's me. It's turned into a bit of a tricky week, I guess, because TLT didn't go as we planned. Ideally, I would have been bringing in Yo and Cleary, and it would have been easy. And I guess that's still a possibility. I'll have to keep my eye out. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I think my team's looking pretty strong. Gonna be able to loop in some players as well, so that should be nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely that bloody red center you got there. Just haunts me. Just haunts me to my grave. Um, but yeah, I guess touching on Garrick, I think I brought him up a bit earlier, but yeah, they do have. I think the next 4 games are Melbourne, Bulldogs, Roosters, and Raiders, with 3 of them being away. So yeah, with his 54 on the weekend, it was 54 like with 3 goals, 2 tries, 2 line breaks. I definitely think that even though he's still a bit priced under his average, but those base stats and seven, I'm just a bit concerned about his reliability going forward. So
Yeah, I agree.
that's probably why I'm leaning a bit more towards a sell. And also for me, going from him to Campbell works out pretty well. And I think that makes a lot of sense on my side. But even for your side, going from him to a team, though, I still think it's kind of the better long term play. So
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just more of a mental thing, Yeah, worried that he'll keep doing it and you get left in the dust.
yeah, true.
Me with Hosking and Savala and Nawaka Nawase should have waited, but you got to make these moves. But yeah, I don't think we mentioned, but you had a big rank jump this week.
That dude, yeah, actually he managed to get past you for the first time this year,
Yeah.
which is always lovely. But I think we're actually both in pretty good spots now to hopefully really press on and climb not just like top 5K, but top 4K, hopefully top 3K. But guess we'll see after this week though. Big week for us.
Big week. All right, guys. If you have any trades you're thinking of, I guess it's a bit of a tough week, but let us know what you're thinking and what you're going to do. We'll let you know what we think of it. Um, Go the Blues for tomorrow. I
Yep,
think we should
of
win. I think
course.
it should be a convincing win, hopefully. And as always, best of luck.
Thanks, guys.